Welcome back. I was just getting set up out here today to start welding up some more of these log legs. Before we do that though, I thought today would be a good time to answer a few questions I've had regarding the compound miter cut. So let's take a minute and talk about how to make a compound miter cut. So just exactly what is a compound miter cut? Well, that's pretty simple really. It's any cut you make that creates an angle going more than one direction. Just like you see here on these legs. So exactly how do we achieve this cut? Come on, I'll show you. You know, one place you're sure to see the compound miter used quite frequently is in construction. Roof construction, where you're using 2x6 rafters or 2x10 rafters or valleys and hips. Let me show you how you can cut a compound miter using a standard skill saw. I've got a couple scrap pieces of 2x6 here. Let's just use these. So let's say you've got a 10 and 12 pitch roof with hips. And you need to cut some rafter jacks or hip jacks. You'll mark your 10 and 12. Then you'll pull out your skill saw and set it up on a 45-degree angle. There's a compound miter cut. So if you happen to have a hip, so let's take a minute and I'll show you how to do this on the metal cutting bandsaw. Just the basics. You see, a miter cut is just one angle. A compound miter cut allows the piece to go in two angles, like these legs. Angles out and angles away. So let's take a minute and I'll show you how to cut a regular miter cut with the metal cutting bandsaw. So here we have a scrap piece of 2x2, very similar to what we've been using for the legs on our log furniture. Now in order to achieve a basic miter cut, you just set your stock piece in there flat. Of course, you have the ability to adjust this to make any angle you want, from all the way flat up to a 45. So let's go ahead and make one cut. So let's take a look at this miter cut. As you can see, we've got a 45-degree angle cut. If you take the cutoff piece, you've created a 90-degree angle. So that's a miter cut. Now let's take a look at a compound miter. Alright, so here we have another piece of square tubing. This one's 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. For a miter cut, as I just showed you, you just lay this in flat and make the one angle. But for a compound miter, we're going to turn this up on edge. So let's make this cut. Now you've got a 45-degree angle with the tubing twisted on a 45-degree. But there's really a little more to it than just this. I'll tell you what, let me show you with my compound miter saw. So another place you're going to see the compound miter cut is in crown molding. You know, the molding that runs around the top edge of your ceiling. So let me show you how to cut a compound miter for crown molding. So here I've got a scrap piece of molding. I've set my saw up on a 45-degree angle. We're going to take this piece of trim, or this piece of molding, and roll it up on a 45. Similar to what we did inside there with the metal cutting bandsaw. Then it's simply a matter of holding your stock, making your cut. Now as you can see, we've created a 45-degree angle with a 45-degree bevel. Let me take a minute and cut the other side to that. So there you have a compound miter for crown molding. And you can see that would run from the ceiling to the wall. Well, that's how you would use this saw if it was just a miter saw. But like I said, this is a compound miter saw. So you actually have the ability to cut on an angle and a bevel at the same time. So you're probably asking yourself what exactly that has to do with these legs. So you may not have noticed, but these legs are set up on different angles. Now we've got the same bevel, but they are different angles. So if you have different angles, but you want the seat height to be the same height, then you've got to cut different lengths. Here, allow me to show you using some scrap 2x2 and the compound miter saw. So we'll go ahead and set the saw to allow it to cut on a 45-degree bevel. So we're going to cut this one just for the example. Long to short, 12 inches. So now we'll adjust the saw and make a steeper angle and bevel. And again, we're going to make it 12 inches so we can show you the difference. Let's do one real flat. Alright, so let's take these three back in there to the workbench and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, I'm just going to use this scrap that we used earlier. I'm going to go ahead and just tack these down so we can see what's happening. And one more. Alright, so let me show you what I'm talking about. And you can see how these progressively lay down. You can also see how the bevel changes. And of course, the height. So the steeper the angle, the longer the piece needs to be if you want it to be level. So I hope this helps the next time you go to making some compound miter cuts. And if you want to get the detailed blueprint, step-by-step instructions on how to make these legs yourself, be sure to come see me at logfurniturehowto.com. This has been Mitchell Dillman. We'll see you again next week.